Welcome to the Meredith Show. I am really excited today because you are going to be motivated, inspired, and excited about your shine very soon. Joining us on the show is acclaimed author, amazing speaker, and life coach today, Patti Smith. Hello.
Hi, Meredith. Great to be here.
So happy to have you on the show. And for people watching at home, your journey through life has had some highs and lows, but you have a really interesting beginning, and it starts with fashion at a young age. Tell us about that.
Yes, I loved fashion. The two things that I loved when I was little was fashion and people. And my mom used to call me Fashion Plate. And I used to argue with her what kind of pajamas I was going to wear to bed.
Wow.
To the point that I climbed on a dresser one day when she wasn't home because I didn't like what she pulled out. And the dresser came down on me, and I was lucky I didn't kill myself.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, that just goes to show you had a lot more to give. And through the years, you had an interesting twist because you did pursue fashion. You went to school for it. Tell us about that.
Yes, I always loved fashion, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And it eventually led me to go to a fashion merchandising school. And from there, I knew that I found my love. And after that, I went to California, and I literally lived my dream job. I traveled to New York 8 times a year, and it was everything that I ever wanted and more.
Well, fashion is so much fun, and life unfortunately throws us a lot of curveballs. And so you were enjoying that career, but you eventually made a switch, and it was one that came after some challenge. So talk to us a little bit about some shock that you had with loss.
Yes, my fashion career was amazing. I traveled. I eventually met the man of my dreams, and after a 10-year courtship,
Wow.
which is a whole nother story, we ended up getting married. We had a baby, and then my older sister got cancer when she was 41. They caught it early, but her journey with it ended up becoming very hard, and her cancer ended up turning into terminal cancer. And to the degree that I quit working and became her full-time caregiver. And she passed away 8 months later, and it changed my world. It really did.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I particularly hate cancer. It took my dad and many of my relatives too. And one thing that we know is that these can be defining moments. And for you, not only was it heartaching, but it caused you to reevaluate a lot.
Yes, it did. After my sister passed away, my whole world was, when I was caregiving, was the healthcare industry. And it's like suddenly I just lost my light for wanting to continue in that industry. And I felt this call to healthcare. And everybody that I knew from the industry that I was, what are you doing?
It's a big switch.
But, I think it was just this pull for wanting to do work that was meaningful to me. And at that point in my life, I wanted to help people in a different way. And so I just jumped in. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just started networking and telling people, what I did. I have a big sales background, but I want to get into this. And so I jumped in 2 feet.
Well, and I know you had an amazing run, but at the same time, it just seems that tragedy struck in your family, and to the degree that not only do you not see coming, but could take a lot of us down.
Yeah, I was in the healthcare industry for about 4.5 years, and I really took a big leap. I got into an entrepreneurial company. I eventually became president, and then I...
Not surprised.
Well, then I ended up having to shut down the very company that I didn't start because our CEO had gone rogue, and it was just what we needed to do. And that one really took me aback because I thought that was my next, And so while I was kind of figuring things out, a friend asked me to go to a personal development seminar, and I decided to go. And it's like it lit something else up in me. And so, I decided, okay, I think I'm going to eventually, it got me to decide that maybe I wanted to do life coaching. And so I ended up making a decision to do it. I was on my way to get certified, and then suddenly my mom's health took a sharp turn.
Oh, no.
And I found myself on an airplane back to Michigan because I had moved to California for the fashion business. And within 3 weeks, my mom passed away.
Oh, so fast.
Yeah, she was in early stage dementia, and one day woke up in late stage dementia, and 3 weeks later passed. And I was so glad I could be there. And my younger sister and I were there to help my dad. And it was a beautiful passing, but it was still hard. And I didn't think my dad was going to make it. My sister and I were like, you know, my mom was the social planner, and we thought my dad was going to die of a broken heart.
Oh, my goodness.
And then 3 weeks after we buried my mom, my oldest brother's only daughter was killed tragically in an accident at 20 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And
it's almost like life says to you, this is too much. What were you thinking?
yeah. Well, you know what's interesting is I feel like, you know, that happened, my mom died in June. In July is when my niece passed away suddenly. And I was supposed to get my certification for coaching in the fall. And I remember thinking, what is this telling me? Like, is this not the path? But what I realized was because I was really pulled to want to do that work. I was really excited for this new chapter. And I think because I had a focus that had a strong purpose and a strong why, it literally helped me get through both of those times and help my family as much as I could and my dad get through it. And I only felt stronger for it. And it made me realize how important, even through tough times, when you have a purpose that really, you know, is coming from your heart and soul, that it really can help you through. It can help you navigate.
You have a wonderful story, if I may add, about navigating through tremendous grief about your dad. Please share a little bit more, because it just touches me.
Well, what's interesting is I feel like my dad is interesting. I wrote my book, What Am I to Do Now? And it's really about navigating change. As we move on in our life, we're always navigating what's next. And I like to call it your what's next evolution, because we're supposed to be evolving until we take our last breath.
Yes.
So there's always a what's next. And people will tell me, a lot of clients sometimes will say, you know, I'm too old, or they're wanting to diminish a dream. And I look at my dad, and my dad lost my mom at 87. And when, and he was just like, I don't even know what to do with all of this. And you know, his granddaughter passed away. He hasn't even, you know, finished really digesting what happened to my mom. And within a couple months, one day he called me and he goes, you know, I made a decision, Patty. I can either feel sorry for myself and stay and look at four walls and wait to die, or I can reinvent myself. And I've made a decision to reinvent myself.
Wow.
And that was at 87. And my mom was the social one. She was the one who managed their calendar and more outgoing. And for my dad to make that decision at that point in his life after so much loss really re-inspired me that, you know what, at any age, it really is a choice about how you're going to navigate, you know, good things and bad things and tough things. And I will say this, my dad just turned 94 on October 6th this year. And he was at his church because my dad, when he reinvented himself, he taught himself how to cook because my mom did all the cooking. He started volunteering at church, which my mom did all of that. And my dad was more of an introvert. And he just said, I feel like my purpose is to help my fellow people that are still around. And it gave him purpose. And so just a week or two ago, he was at church and they had an Oktoberfest. And they did this contest where you hold up a beer stein and you have to hold it out in front. And it's who can hold it out the longest. And they chose randomly 10 men from the audience. My dad, who was 94, and the rest of the men were like in their 50s and early 60s. And guess who won?
No!
My dad.
Talk about amazing strength.
But you know what? I love what he said. He sent a text to my sister and I and said, guess who won?
Oh my God.
And he said, you know, it's a mental game. It's all mental. It's about, you know, how you concentrate and how you hold it, and you can't tense up when something's difficult. And I thought, here's a 94-year-old man that can cite things that's, you know, kind of like things I cite to clients as a coach. So it really is mind, body, soul. And I think that as we navigate change in our life, it really is a choice, and to understand that no matter what, you can choose the excuse or you can choose your next, and you can choose to feel more, a more empowered thought than a limiting thought.
So true. And as we close out, I have to say you have a beautiful story about the process of writing your book. It was during COVID. And I know at that time, like many children at home, it was hard on your family and your daughter especially. And you have a great story about how you actually pushed forward into really getting serious about your book.
Yes, I decided to write the book a few years ago, and I kept, it's like I was in it, and then I was building a coaching business, so it's like I put it on the side, and I didn't really say too much about it to my family, to my husband or my daughter. And then one day during COVID, because my daughter was home, and she kept interrupting in the office for different things, and I know it was hard. I mean, it was a really difficult time, and she was almost a senior in high school. Yeah, and everyone had their journey with it. But one day I was, you have to be in the zone when you're writing, and she came in the office, and I think just out of frustration, I said to her, can you just let me, have some peace, because I'm trying to finish writing this book. And she looks at me, she goes, what? You're writing a book? And I went, oh no, now I've got to finish this book.
Yes, you
because
did.
I just put it out there.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be the role model for her. And how can I be a role model if I don't, do what I say and walk my talk? And I feel like that's really my why as I move forward with my work. And I really feel like a lot of people in their second act is, what kind of an impact do you want to make? And part of that is being a role model to either our kids, our grandkids, the younger generation. It's not just about, well, now it's for you guys to live this life. It's like, it's for us to be the role model, to show them how do you navigate, and not just when you get to midlife, but past that, because we go through different stages, and we should always be evolving into our what's next.
Thank you.
And that's what this is all about.
Pull it up. I was going to say, what am I to do now? And, I think your what's next is what you talk about so often. If you're watching at home, what an inspiration. I mean, you've had so many seasons of your life with dramatic change, heartbreaking loss. What a beautiful testament to the ability to shine through all of it. And so I thank you for being willing to share your story. And for people at home who have experienced tremendous loss, frustration, might have, challenges at home, what do you say to them?
I think just go within, because I think that we tend to live outside versus looking at our outside circumstances and what other people are thinking, or what we think society thinks we should do or not do. And really, I think if you just go within and you live from the inside out, go to your heart, go to your spirit, because no matter what, there's always, like, how can you be a light to somebody? Because that's what I have, a 7-step ignite system in here to ignite. And it's really about igniting that light, because I think as we get on in life and as life happens, our light dims. And I think that all we need to do is to reignite the light by going and asking yourself one question. What would I love? Like my next, what would I love? Not what would I like or what's practical, but what would I love? What would just, fill me up? And it could be anything. Maybe there's a hobby that you've been wanting to do, or maybe it's helping out and volunteering somewhere. Because if you think about it, all we know is the day in front of us.
And nothing is guaranteed.
It isn't. And, I have a mentor who I love that she said that every day is like a lifetime in miniature. It has a beginning and it has an end, and you get to shape it. And life is a choice every single day, just like my dad. He says, I can choose to either give up or I can move forward. And so that's what we're igniting, is we're igniting the light, so we can be an inspired light to someone else.
Thank you.
Just like your show, Shine.
Thank you. I was going to say, you must, if you're watching at home, honor your light. And it is exactly what you need to shine. And you sure shine, Patti Smith. Thank you so much. And if you would like to get the book, and obviously if you need an amazing life coach, please get your pens out, take down Patti's information right on your screen right now. And I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. And I know somebody out there doing something amazing. Please promise us that no matter what you do, don't keep it to yourself. Take a little time and share the love and shine. And if you've enjoyed and you've been inspired by this segment just as much as we have, please share it with somebody you love too. Thank you so much for watching. Patty Smith, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be with you.
The Meredith Show is brought to you by La Ventana Treatment Programs, located just outside Los Angeles in Thousand Oaks, California. This episode was shot on location at the Interval House for Teen Residential Mental Health Treatment for Young Women. Be sure to follow The Meredith Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.